What's poppin', y'all? LS57. And today, right now, this video right here is going to be discussing 2K ratings. They had a stream where the 2K PR, Ronnie 2K and LD 2K announced the ratings, and they was talking about how the system goes. Now, it was very confusing because they was using an example of LeBron James being like his rating being compared to, let's say, and what does LeBron do well? Like, he does assist, scoring. Let's say it's scoring. So they compare him to like the historic players' top scoring performance or whatever, and that's how they get the ratings somehow. Like, you have to really listen to the stream, the 2K stream on Twitch, to really know. And then Ronnie was saying, out of like 100 players, like I think it was like 60 something of the 100 players are going to be rated like 80 something, and everybody else will probably be lower than the 80 something. You know what I'm saying? He said basically majority of the players that's in the NBA today will have low ratings. Like, it's going to look low. And the reason for them doing this is because, as you know, 2K now has implemented a rating system that is actually related to the dynamic cards. So the dynamic scoring and everything, they have to fluctuate. So of course, if you give all these players high ratings, this is the tricky part with 2K. This is where I kind of feel for the devs, man, like that do the ratings, because this is like the tricky part, and he might get a whole lot of backlash. Or like, I understand what they're saying. It's like this. It's saying that, now you might not agree, you might agree, but this is what they're saying. They're saying that they have a certain peak, right? So let's say LeBron or whoever you think should be a 90, right? Let's say they get 90 ratings or whatever. Let's say in the season or whatever, the rating that you thought they should have a 90 in, let's say that season or however it goes with the dynamics, they have an outstanding, like a breakout year or whatever, right? Now, of course, where everybody is different, everybody's not going to go up and fluctuate at the same time. But let's just say they get a spike, like a 20% spike or whatever the number is, right? You don't have that much room to grow. You understand? So what they're saying is they have low ratings because if these guys do good, they just want room for it to either go up and to go down. They want they want it to be more flexible. You know what I'm saying? To be more fluctuate. They want it to fluctuate. In other words, fluctuate means going up, going down, like your variance. So it could be like 1 week it could be 70%, next week it could be like an 80 rating. You have a bad week, you got room to go down to like it's back to a 70. You know what I'm saying? Or if he gets to a 90, whatever. But if they put him too high and he does good and it has to go high, you can't go past the 99. So that's what basically he's saying. So it's just room to grow. But the whole thing about the situation with the rating, where it's tricky, as the way they break it down, is like, that part I understand. However, giving a rating to a player based on like historical players and things like that is like, it's real tricky. Because at the end of the day, you could compare Michael Jordan's best stat or whatever. Let's say he leads the league or whatever stat it was. Michael Jordan leads the league. His stat is rings, but I'm just saying, like, compared to just like whatever stat it was, the game is different than it was back then than it is today. You feel me? Because you're going to have to compare a person like that to like Oscar Robertson, and who averaged a triple-double like for a season. Didn't he do something like that? Didn't Wilt Chamberlain put up groundbreaking numbers at one point? So to put the best against the best in those terms, you got to go against players like Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley, these big Hall of Famers, Patrick Ewing, like Reggie Miller. You're going to have to go against these Hall of Fame players, like people that are Hall of Fame, their stats. And you're comparing them to this in today's game. And it's crazy because you can't really, I don't know, man. I just think it's weird. Like, I just think it's weird, the rating system, my personal opinion. But the reason why they're doing it this way, I understand. But it's confusing because it's kind of difficult. You know what I'm saying? To me, in my personal opinion, they just made it like kind of difficult and for us to understand. But I guess once you go do the repetitions and you read it or listen to it, however the case is, you know what I'm saying? Just go to Twitch, check out the video, and it's just weird to me, man. It's something that it's gonna be hard for people to take in. Not hard for people to take in, but when you really try to understand, I just tried to break it down as best as I could, and it was like at first it was mind-boggling. I had to listen to it a couple times before I really got it, and I still don't think I got it 100%. But I do understand why. Like I said, it's just because there's dynamic ratings, so it's like they need room to grow. That's why they need room to grow, whether it be for the positive or whether it be for the negative. But you guys, thank you. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. We have 4K subs. Will I like more subs? Hell yeah. Will I like more views? Hell yeah. But it is what it is. We growing slow, but we doing something. I don't know. I fucks with y'all fucks with me. But let me know what y'all think as far as these ratings go, man. LS57. And I'll probably leave y'all with a little something and see if y'all can figure this out. Hold on 1 minute.
Over the last couple of years because it wasn't something to play for, right? And we'll be talking about that more down the line as well. But when you do that, if I go in with my Lakers, who weren't traditionally good the last couple of years, right? I'm going up against LeBron James and the Cavs. You see those one teams kind of like the people are using those teams over and over, right? When the super team came together, right? NBA 2K11 launch, right? Everybody was using Miami Heat, right?
Yep.
Like that kind of thinking is like, how do we balance out the game with ratings, right? Last year, you kind of saw a lot of players in the 80s, right? And you saw ratings traditionally scaled down a little bit. But then
it almost got compressed.
It did, yeah. Right. And so, like, I think the thinking now is, like, we have all these various game modes. How does this make sense, not only on, like, the current NBA season, but then how do you take a player currently who's the best player in the league today, right? Because you could argue a lot of different players. Anthony Davis, Stephen Curry, right? James Harden, LeBron James, right? Those were inarguably the best players in the league last year, right?
Well, they were all NBA players.
Right.
The guys you just mentioned.
Right. And so, like, now, how would they compare that rating, that like end of the season,
to the greatest of all time?
How do you rate them? Because you have modes like My Team, right? You have modes like My League and My GM where you could bring in the best players of all time, right? Like, how do you compare those, right? And I think that's the approach this year that's very interesting. You start taking in the greatest of all time that played and like how those guys rate on that scale, because you have to have parameters.
But within attributes though too, right? So like that's why I was kind of using that Kyrie example. Yeah. All time. I got another example. Another Cavalier. What's wrong with me? I'm like a Cavs fan all of a sudden.
I don't know.
Tristan Thompson, right? One of the best shot blockers in the NBA last year. You would think in years past he probably would have been a 99 in shot blocking. I'm not saying that he is or isn't. I actually haven't even checked specifically, but he probably is one of the best of the current players. Yeah. But when you compare him to some of the historic seasons of the best shot blockers of all time, obviously you have to run it against that skill. So I think the scary thing to our fans is going to be, you're going to see these ratings and right away you might be like, oh my God, they're so low. And there's going to be some players you're going to be like, that guy is one of the top 50 players in the